How's everyone going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping another video. Right, guys, Brandon Slack, who's one of the boys that follows me on Twitter, chats to him quite a lot on DM and that. Top kid, living the dream out in Spain. Asked me to do a video on when you're wanted by the police and stuff. If you're on the run from the police, how do you go about it? What do you do? How do you stay off the radar and everything? Right, like I say, I'm not a professional, guys, or anything like that. I've just been arrested a lot of times, been wanted a lot of times, and got on my toes quite a few times. I can't talk about what everyone does, but I can talk about how I evaded capture and stuff. Blah blah blah. So right, guys, so I've been wanted by the police quite a few times. Most of the times the police just come through the door and they get me and I get nicked and go to a cop shop. But other times I've actually been on the run. And I've been on the run and evaded police and stuff. So how do you stay out of the police's like caps, right? Obviously, if you're known at an address, right, and you're on the run, you shouldn't. Obviously, that address is going to be targeted a lot by the police. Like, say you've been in prison, right, and you got out of prison. Any people that were coming to see you on the visits and stuff, their address and everything, they'll be targeted because the prison will like talk to the police and the police will talk to the prison. And they'll be like, right, well, this is where he said he was getting released to. This is where this is his mum who used to come see him. This is his girlfriend. This is his sister, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be. But so what I used to do personally, right? I would stay out of the area that I was known or I was wanted, and I would stay in bed and breakfast, right? Wouldn't come out in the daytime. Would nip out when it goes dark. Go and get some bits and stuff, right? But if you were high profile, say you was high profile, I'm not high profile, but if you were high profile and you was on the run, right, you wouldn't use your cash card for your ATM, because that's the first thing that the banks will flag to the police. The police speak to the banks will speak to the police, right? Tell us any time that his account is accessed, right? So say you go to a cash machine, you withdraw money, right? The CCTV everywhere nowadays, guys, everywhere. So you wouldn't use your ATM, you wouldn't use your cash card, right? Because obviously the police will know where you're at and stuff. So you could, if you transferred the money to somebody, their address then would be targeted, because the police will go through their door as a line of inquiry. It's the game of cat and mouse, guys, right? So like I say, I used to never stay in one area too long, right? So say you're staying at somebody's, right? You need to stay at somebody's that's off the radar. Like I said, I stayed in a little bed and breakfast, right? Out of the area that I was in. I'd stay in a bed and breakfast for a couple of nights, then I'd move to another bed and breakfast, and so on and so forth. I'd just do the circles and stuff, right? When you check into a bed and breakfast, right, you don't have to use your own name. You can make up a name, right? If you're known by the police for several different names, you don't use any of them names when you check into a bed and breakfast, right? Because obviously the police will know, and the police will target that. Like I said, you can't pay for things on your credit or debit card, because again, flags up, bam, police are on it, right? So you have to deal with cash, right? Don't go on CCTV. The police have these things called super recognizers, police officers that remember names and faces and stuff like that. So like I say, it's advisable to stay out of the area you're in. You look at Sean Walmsley. Sean Walmsley was doing life, right, for stabbing a man to death and escaped from custody. He was taken to I think it was Fazakerley Hospital. And he escaped, right? And he's been on the run ever since. And people have been arrested up and down the country for assisting an offender, right? For those that don't know as well, if you are harbouring someone that's wanted, I think you can get up to, I think it's 5 to 10 years or 5 to 7 years for harbouring a wanted fugitive. You just have to say you didn't know the man was wanted or the woman was wanted, because obviously female prisoners and female criminals and stuff. But yeah, so what I used to do, like I say, it was a big story that I was wanted for. It was in the media and stuff, and I got on my toes. And I stayed out of my area. Eventually, when the money ran dry, right, I was in a position then, right, do I let the police arrest me, or do I hand myself in? If you hand yourself in and surrender to custody, it's better for you in the long run, because obviously you've handed yourself in. You didn't have to do that. If you get arrested on the street by the police before you hand yourself in, or you've got no intention of handing yourself in, and you get arrested, that can go against you. Police can deny you bail, say that you're at risk of jumping bail, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, like I said, I've been wanted, guys. Like I say, if you've got a phone, example as well, if you've got a phone, right, say the police know that you've got a certain mobile number, right? If you use that number, the police can triangulate that number, and it can cell site you, and they can find you guys to get your incoming calls and receive messages you receive and stuff. They just need your phone number, guys. That's all they need to get you to read your messages, look at your call logs. So you, like I say, what would you do in that instance, right? You get rid of that phone. You get rid of that SIM card, you buy a basher phone, right? A basher phone is just a non-smartphone, right? You delete all your social media accounts and stuff, right? Your social media, you don't go on the run and start updating your social media and stuff, because people that like and comment on that status or inbox you and stuff, the police could hack your Facebook. If, like I said, if you've got a mobile that's registered to you to you, the police can triangulate that number, and then they can cell site you and they can locate you that way. So you get rid of that phone, get rid of that SIM card, buy a basher phone, and that way you just keep changing your number every few weeks or something. If you stay at friends or family, you should know that there's a high probability they're going to be targeted and stuff and raided, especially immediate family will be targeted by the police. It's just a fact. That's just how it goes. Stay off CCTV if you can. Like I said, I would keep my head down when I was in the bed and breakfasts and stuff around where I was staying. I would stay inside in the day, just watch shit on TV, right? Like if you need to get people to come to the bed and breakfast to drop stuff off for you, or you go down and meet them outside when it's dark. If you get friends or family to drop off food, supplies, change your clothes, things like that. Give them a key to your gaff. They can go to your flat, get some clothes and stuff, fresh boxes, fresh clothes, bring them to you, and do it that way. It's too risky. You can't do it yourself, because if you do, chances are you're going to get caught and stuff like that. If you've got, there's a lot of people that go on the run, and for some reason they go to Spain, right? Spain is an extradition country that will extradite people back to the UK. So if you've got the money and you've got, say you've been on bail and you know you're going to get charged, right? I would, in the weeks and months before, I would change my name by a depot, right? And apply for a passport in the new name that you've got, right? The date of birth will obviously remain the same, but I'd change your name, apply for a passport in that name, and if you've got the funds to, right, get abroad. Right? If you've got big funds behind you, fuck off to a non-extradition country. Right? Don't go to countries within the EU, because they will extradite back to the UK. Too many people go on the run to Spain and then get caught and then get brought back to the UK, and they're like, well, how can you bring them back to the UK? Any country within the EU, they've got an extradition treaty where they can bring people back to the UK. So never go to Spain or anywhere around Europe. You need to go further afield, guys. Ronnie Biggs, the great train robber, he fucked off to Brazil and lived in Rio de Janeiro for a long time before eventually coming back to the UK, being arrested, and sadly has died since. God bless him, may rest in peace. But Ronnie Biggs did it the right way. You know what I mean? So like I say, when you want it, guys, you just got to stay inside in the daytime, go out at night, don't become complacent, don't stay in, if you're staying with friends or family, which I wouldn't advise, don't stay in one place too long. If you stay in one place too long, eventually the police are going to target these addresses. So what some people do, what friends in the past have done, is if an address has been raided for them, right, the police will move on to the next address. That person then that's wanted will go to the address that had recently been raided, hoping in the fact that the police wouldn't get another warrant from the judge to go back through the same door. Like I say, the police, if you're a high-profile person, the police will hound you. The police will fucking hound you, right? If they raid your property and you're not in, say you're a high-profile prisoner or you're a high-profile criminal that's wanted, say you're wanted for murder or something, and the police break into your flat or your family's house and your family are not in, they're going to bug that house, aren't they? Right? Have that paranoid mentality. The reason you have a paranoid mentality when you're on the run and when you're involved in crime is if you become paranoid and be wary of everything, you've got a lesser chance of being stitched up, right, than you have if you're complacent and think you're untouchable, right? These are the people that get caught because they become complacent and they think they're untouchable, and then they come brazen, and then the police swoop and grab them, and then they end up in prison for a very long time and stuff. So like I say, guys, I can't talk for everyone what everybody does when they're wanted, but there's certain things you don't do. Like I said, you don't use your credit or debit cards. You deal with cash. You get your friends and family to collect clothes and food for you or whatever, right? You don't even want to be going into supermarkets and stuff. If your picture was being beamed, I wasn't named in the article, right? The situation with me was a family that stitched me up and put me in prison for witness intimidation, wrote a letter to my football club threatening the manager, right? And then put my name on the back of the envelope, right? So then obviously I was a line of inquiry for the police, right? And the police, what it was, the night when they came for me, I was in bed with a girl that I was with at the time from St. Helens, right? The police were, the flat that I used to live at, the police were buzzing the buzzers, and the flat was pitch black. It was like 3 a.m. I went to the windows, and I never popped my blind. I'd look out of the side of the blind, right? And I'd seen coppers, and just as I pulled away from the window, a copper shined his fucking torch up. This was 3 o'clock in the morning. They came then again at about 4:30, 4:45, and then they came again at 5:30, right? Because this letter that had threats to the manager of Oldham Athletic, the football team I support, the manager was, he said that he supported the IRA or something, and this somebody, and I believe it's this family that stitched me up on the witness intimidation, did a stenciled letter, but then because the stencil was too big on the front of the envelope, they wrote the name and sent it to my football club with my name on it, right? So I was their number one on Greater Manchester Police's shit list at the time. Like I say, I've since moved on with my life, but the police wanted me bad, and it was all over the papers. 2 people had been arrested, and then I think it was about 2 years ago, and it was like, right, a 31-year-old man, the police said in the papers, a 31-year-old man is being sought in this investigation. We would tell him to hand himself in. The police were looking for me everywhere. It was a big story. It was in all the nationals, all the locals. It was a big story here, man. Eventually, like I say, I was staying in bed and breakfast. I was well out of the way. And then eventually I surrendered to custody. I surrendered to Oldham Police Station. I was taken to Ashton. They kept me in. I did handwriting samples in my interview because I wasn't guilty of the offence. I didn't know what the police wanted me for. I just stayed off the radar. So I did handwriting samples in my police interview. I'd give a version of events saying that I wasn't guilty and everything. I did a handwriting sample. If I would have gone no comment and refused to give handwriting samples, I tell you now, they would have charged me, they would have denied me bail, and would have ended up back in prison. They said I'd be out within a couple of hours. They kept me 23 hours and 55 minutes, right? And literally, by the time they pulled me out of my cell, I said to the copper that popped my door, "Oh, am I getting bail?" And he said, "I'm not going to tell you." He said, "Come to the desk." The last time that happened, I ended up in prison. So I was like, my head was rattling. So I thought, I'm going back to jail here for fuck all on a stitch up. So I've gone to the counter. The sergeant said, right. She said, everything taken into consideration, spoken to the Crown Prosecution Service, and we're going to bail you. And I was like, oh my God, thank God for that. The bail conditions, guys, I had were very strict. I had 12 bail conditions, wasn't allowed into the Metropolitan Borough of Oldham, have a look online, guys, that's a fucking big area. Not just Oldham Town Centre, literally whole of Oldham, everywhere that come under Oldham Metropolitan Council. I wasn't allowed to go to any football games, home or away. I wasn't allowed to contact any players, officials, sponsors, directors, manager or anything of Oldham Athletic. I had a doorstep curfew between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Where if the police turned up, I would have had to surrender. I would have opened the door to the police. What else did I have? I had to live and sleep every night at my old flat. There's so many, guys, so many bail conditions, right? And it was a big thing, and it was a fucking stitch up, right? But the fact is, I had to go on the run and I had to evade capture and all this sort of stuff when I did. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm not guilty of this shit. Yeah, I spoke to my brief spoke to the police, and I said, look, I've not done nothing wrong, right? I mean, my solicitor said, look, he said, surrender. He said it's in your interest to surrender. So like I said, after a few weeks, and I thought, fuck it, and I surrendered to police custody. I was arrested, questioned, bailed. And then eventually, after several months, I had to go to the police station twice a week as well. Eventually, the police dropped the charges against me, and I was free to continue with my life and stuff. But like I say, guys, being wanted by the police, yeah, if they want you, they want you. Certain prisoners, they don't go after, but because the media spotlight was on this story, the police were big coming, and it was a big fucking case, guys. Like I say, eventually it all got dropped and stuff, and that was the end of that. But if you wanted, guys, stay off the radar. If you've got a phone that the police know the number for, you get rid of that fucking phone. Buy a basher. Don't use your cash card at ATMs and stuff. Things like that, guys. There's ways and means. You know what I mean? What you could do is you could double bluff. Like, you could give your cash card to a loved one, then fuck off down south or something, and your loved one could take money out. The police would then be alerted and think you were still in the area, and then your loved one could then put the money in an envelope and send it to a bed and breakfast or wherever you're staying. There's different ways, guys. Like I say, I'm not a professional. I've just been arrested a lot of times. I was involved with crime for a very long time. Right, guys, I'm going to leave this video here. I hope it covers everything for Brendan. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.